little bit quiet because everybody in my house is asleep at the moment. Thought I'd start this video off just a little bit different and start off with just a moment of some face-to-face. So hey, how's it going? So this is for Stash It Monday. I'm filming it on a Sunday. I'm filming it actually on Father's Day. Getting a little bit ahead of myself, but better to do that than procrastinate, right? So for my stash, so I looked at the inspiration piece, which you should have seen at the beginning of the video, and there, what struck me was like those pinkish reds with the darker gray brown colors, and so I wanted to use that in my layout, yeah, as well as incorporating some things for my stash. As I was sitting in my spot, I just happened to look to my left and saw this piece of flare in my little flare container. Hopefully it's not too bad of a glare. Anyway, that reminded me so much of that inspiration piece. It even had the bars and one that matched that one section of the inspiration piece, and I thought it was perfect. So then one piece of flare is going to start my layout, and what I wanted to do was do some of the DIY embellishment, like little clustered embellishment groupings. So I have my giant bag of embellishments out over here, and I'll film that part of the process too for you. I went through my very oldest stash to pick out some papers, and one of the first papers that I came across was this one here. It has like these little skunkies on it, and it's by Nikki Savills, who, if you've watched any of my videos, you know she's like my very all-time favoritist thing in the world. Doesn't have a year on it. Oh yeah, it does. 2011. So it was a little bit ago. So I found this piece of paper that I thought had all those great colors in it. That's gonna match this flare. See, they match. Neat. And so then I had another piece of paper right together with that one from that same collection. That's gonna go in there somehow. But I wanted a couple other pieces. There just happened to be a Simple Stories. This is from Good Day Sunshine from 2014. This one side is this pinkish dot, and the other side is just kind of an ombre looking solid. So hopefully you can see that. And then a very old piece that I think came from like a package in the dollar spot at Target, but it's like a glitter paper. So I thought those 4 pieces of paper and that flare, I'm going to go through my other flare stash and try to come up with at least 1 or 2 other flares to use in some DIY embellishments with some of my other stash. I have to find a photo to use, which is not normally how I scrapbook. I usually start with the photo. So I'm going to show a picture of how I keep all of my old photos to go through, and then I'll film a sped up process video of some embellishment making, and then the page itself. So hopefully you enjoy. Hopefully this isn't too long of a video, and thanks for watching. See ya! So I'm going to show you making my embellishment cluster pieces, even though I tear them apart a little bit by the time I actually get to the layout. So I started with those Jenny Bolin like half label pieces, and then I have these Jelly Bean soup labels. The brown one there that I'm putting on like that reddish polka dot says Happy Life, Happy Wife. I'm covering the Happy Wife with a little bow, trying just to use up some of the things that I have in my stash. Using one of those flare, it says Best Friends. It unfortunately, the reddish color of that label looks really good with the layout, but it's not the same, because it looks pink, but it's not the same pink, unfortunately, when you put the little flare right on it. But I'm just not going to care about that, so I'm making it and putting it together anyway. So this label thing is going to be like the reddish color, the pinkish color. It has some of the yellow, it has the brown. I'm trying to decide what to do with that piece of paper. I'm getting out some washi tape and looking at it. More washi tape. I don't use any of that. And I just really don't know what I'm going to do with it. So I grabbed some washi tape and put it there thinking I'm going to use some of the green. And then I hate it. I try to see if I'm going to use some of that pink paper, and I hate that. I'm trying to move the flare over. That doesn't work. So I skipped the other one. And I put down the label, and I put down the flare piece. And those flare are old, so they have old foam on the back. And I take it off, but then it doesn't stick because I'm just trying to use glue on the metal, and my glue doesn't work on the metal, so then I put some more foam back on there, which is fine. In the end, it all works great. See? There, it didn't stick at all. So I'm like, okay, well now I'm going to use foam tape. I do end up using some of those little wonky hearts on my embellishment, spots, whatever you want to call these things. I love those wonky hearts. They came from, I ordered them from China, and they're really cool. There's some great colors, and they look really good. I'm just trying to see if there's other things that I want to use. I do have that little bit of bling out. I just can't, I don't embellish a lot, so I struggle with it. I like embellishments. I like buying them. I'm not very good about using them, so it's just hard, but I do really like the way the end layout is, so I'm just about done with these, and then you'll see me skip to the actual layout. Okay, so here I am with the actual layout, and I'm going to show you that I had cut out the middle of that big piece of paper because it was just white in the center, and I didn't want that much white on my layout, so I cut it out. What I really liked was this pink ombre paper, so I'm mounting the frame-ish part of that on the pink, and I'm trying to decide where I want my photos. These are the photos I decided to use. I don't know if I showed them to you in the first part of the video. I found some old photos of the 3 puppies that my husband and I used to have before we had our kids. So before we had kids, we had fur babies, and that's what the title is going to say. It says, before we had Devin and Reggie, we had fur babies. So it's going to be really cute. I'm mounting the photos on that polka dot glitter paper. It just adds a little bit of the glitter, a little bit more of the pink. 2 of the dogs are girl dogs, and the boy dog, the Pekingese, was a boy, but he was a diva boy, so he would not have at all minded being on a pink layout. He would not have cared a bit. He would have really loved it. So I decided that just the photos by themselves need something, so I'm going to do a strip of this green pattern. In the end layout, you don't actually see very much of it at all. I also decided I wanted to cover up kind of the skunk at the bottom. I like the skunk at the bottom, and it's cute, and it kind of goes with animals and animals, but I just didn't want to mess with trying to cover, to leave it all uncovered, or so I just covered it all. And I really like the way that that looks, even though you're not going to see that green at all by the end. So I put him over there, put her on the bottom, and then the black dog gets popped up with foam. I just decided that her picture gets popped up. Not that she was, you know, our favorite or anything, but she was the first dog that we got. We got her right before we actually got married, and so she's kind of our special girl. So hers kind of gets popped up, and she gets to be in the middle. So this is where I end up tearing my embellishment thing apart, because I wanted to cover up the border that goes around the white on that big Jenny Bolin label-y piece. The border is actually black, which doesn't go with the brown in my layout at all. It needs to go away. So I hadn't put it together very well. It wasn't very smart of me, so I tear it apart and put it back together, kind of like I had it, just a little bit different. It's not terribly different. The bows turned the other way is really all. So that's not too bad. I do have to replace the foam on the flare, and that looks fine. The brown one goes right up there in the corner where I wanted it. I'm sorry I'm a little out of frame there, but I'm just putting that brown label piece down in that corner. It's not that exciting. I'm throwing away some trash, and I get my table pushed out of the way, so that's what happened. I'm sorry about that. I looked through the labels to see if I have another one. I had looked before and didn't think I had one, but I do find another one of those brown polka dotted labels, so I'm actually going to use that and trying to decide what I want to do with it. I just think it needs a little bit more of that brown polka dot, so I'm trying to kind of figure that out and how I'm going to mess with that. So here's what I end up doing. I cut off the edge, and I'm going to use it over there as kind of another label, a third cluster. I use the edge of it under the red. That keeps that pink from being right against that red. I'd get my corner chomper out and kind of round the corners of the piece that's left over, but they weren't exactly square, so they're not exactly round, but it doesn't really matter. In the end, I just want to continue that pattern. I looked through this Amy Tan sticker book. I even get at least one of the stickers out at one point and try to put it down, like pretend like I'm going to use it, but I don't. I'm not going to use that. It goes right back in. I need to like do a layout where I just use like all of those stickers, but that's not happening. So I wanted to use that cream bow, even though there's a white background in the label piece. That creamish yellowish bow goes with the layout. It matches perfectly, and I need to use up those bows. I've had them a long time. Plus I have the third flare that needs to be used. So, and again, I'm really sorry that this is out of frame. But basically I added the bow, I added the flare, added a little bit of that heart. Now I'm looking at this cut apart that was the strips, the border strips, and there's a couple little word stickers you'll see me use eventually, but mostly I want this scallop border, and it's going to cut off here in just a minute, but I'll come back and explain how I finish up the layout. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of the Crafty Maven channel. Bye-bye. And I apologize that I didn't turn the camera back on for that last little bit. Pretty much all I did was I added the scallop. By the way, if you're ever tempted to hand cut a scallop border, just don't. So I added that here and over here because it needed just a little bit more. I did add journaling as far as there and just a little bit there with their names. I added these little pieces from the back of what I cut out of the center of this framed piece because I thought they were cute. They were part of like the border strip thing. And then added a title, as well as kind of a little intro to the title. So it just says, before Devin and Reggie, we had fur babies, and these are our little fur babies that we had, our little girls. Well, girls and boy. But that just kind of explains that these letter stickers are amazing. They're Amy Tangerine. They're called Hello stickers, and they're like a printed fabric. They're just very cool. So there were lots of these little squares with it in the stickers, so I just added those in a few of my places. So all in all, it didn't necessarily turn out like I had planned it at the beginning. Wasn't necessarily where I thought I was going, but I really like where we went. So ignore that. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and you can subscribe to my channel as well and look for other videos here on the Crafty Maven. Thanks again. Bye.